Namo Bhagavad. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna, everybody. Thank you very much for joining us today. We are expecting Pari to be a little bit late today. We want the blessings of Radha Madhav, Radha Shantam, Krishna Balaram, Balgopal, Gonika, Srila Prabhupada, Guru Maharaj, and the assembly devotees, so that we can share some things about Gita Jayanti, chapter 10, Bhagavad Gita. Yesterday we celebrated Gita Jayanti. It was a glorious day. And it was also Ekadashi, so it's such an important day. So we can do a very quick overview of the first 9 chapters of Bhagavad Gita. So Krishna's main man, Arjun, didn't want to fight. He had a weakness of heart, especially when he was brought in front of Bhishma, his beloved grandfather. And he gave many reasons why he shouldn't fight. But in the second chapter, he surrenders to Krishna. Please help me. I surrender unto you. And then Krishna immediately takes him onto the spiritual platform, identity as the soul, shares the duties of the soul and of the body as well, and then the nature of the person who does his duties. So chapter 2 is very important. Chapter 3, Krishna explains how one can do one's duty without attachment to the fruits, setting an example to the world and avoiding sinful activities. Chapter 4, Krishna explains how to gain knowledge, and also his different missions on this planet, and how to acquire this knowledge. Chapter 5 is Karma Yoga in practice in Krishna consciousness, so where we become detached to the fruits, but then we offer the fruits to Krishna. So that's very close to bhakti. Then chapter 6 talks about Dhyan Yoga. Krishna wanted to give Arjuna a flavor of what it's like to live in the forest, because that's what he wanted to do. He wanted to drop his weapons and go to the forest. So, okay, you want to be a yogi? It's not that easy, young man. And he also talks about the mind and how if one can control one's mind, the mind will be one's best friend. Chapter 7 is the beginning of the Bhakti Yoga section of the Bhagavad Gita. 6 chapters are Bhakti Yoga. And why is it Bhakti Yoga? Because those chapters connect to the Supreme Lord. Like this one, chapter 7, Krishna describes where he can be perceived in this world, who approaches him, who doesn't approach him, and what's the result of worshipping devatas. Chapter 8, Arjuna asks 8 questions, and then Krishna focuses in on his last question: what happens at the time of death? Such an important time of our life at the end. And last week we looked at chapter 9. Krishna explains his inconceivable nature and the value of serving him compared to other beings. And he also describes a little bit of where he can be found and his forgiving nature. Because at one point Arjuna asked him, what if somebody does crazy things? Are they lost in, if they just fall down? And then Krishna says, no, don't worry. They're never lost. I declare it boldly, my devotee never perishes. And now chapter 10, where he describes a lot more about his opulence. The opulence of the absolute is the name of this chapter. And in summary, people complain that they cannot see God at work, that he is not manifest in person before their eyes, and they have no direct experience of his existence. So they often argue, show me God, then I'll believe you. So Krishna explains how the spiritualist can simultaneously perceive God as a source of creation and also see God within the creation. So if we have the vision, we will be able to see. However, this requires more than an intellectual understanding. It actually calls for transformation of one's consciousness and revelation from within. The themes of this chapter as follows. Because Arjuna is a friend of the Lord, Krishna explains his nature further. And then we have the seed verses of Bhagavad Gita. These are the most important verses of Bhagavad Gita. Text 8 to text 11, 4 verses, gives the essence of the Gita. And it explains that the Lord is the source of everything, how his devotees interact with him, how he reveals himself to the devotees, and how he destroys their ignorance. This is such a phenomenal 4 verses. It basically summarizes the Gita. Arjuna then accepts Krishna as the supreme, as do many great sages, and wanted to know more about the Lord's opulence. And then Krishna gives him about, I think, 80 or 82 different potencies or vibhutis where he's found in this world. So let's make a start. So who would like to read? Any volunteers? Okay, Arav, go for it.
Text 1. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, "Listen again, O mighty armed Arjuna, because you are my dear friend. For your benefit, I shall speak to you further, give knowledge that is better than what I have already explained." Text 2. Neither the hosts of demigods nor the great sages know my origin or opulences, for in every respect I am the source of the demigods and sages. Text 3. He who knows me as the unborn, as the beginningless, as the supreme Lord of all the worlds, he only undeluded among men, is freed from all sins. Text 4 to 5. Intelligence, knowledge, freedom from doubt and delusion, forgiveness, truthfulness, control of the senses, control of the mind, happiness and distress, birth, death, fear, fearlessness, non-violence, equanimity, satisfaction, austerity, charity, fame and infamy. All these various qualities of living beings are created by me alone. Text 6. The 7 great sages and before them the 4 other great sages and the Manas, progenitors of mankind, come from me, born from my mind, and all the living beings populating the various planets descend from them. Text 7. One who is factually convinced of this opulence and mystic power of mine engages in unalloyed devotional service of this there is no doubt.
So wonderful. Thank you so much. Krishna reveals to Arjuna further how no one knows him, how he's unborn, he's beginningless. One of the most common questions we get in schools when we do our presentation is, how was God made? So this is, of course, a question that bugs the children a lot, bugs everybody. How was he born? Now, we have to understand that this is a world where we are used to seeing a beginning, middle, and end. We're used to seeing birth, life for some time, and then death. But the spiritual world is different. There is no such thing as birth or death. The Lord has always existed. There's never been a time when he has not existed, nor will there be a time when he does not exist. And the same applies to us as well. As Krishna explains to Arjuna in the 2nd chapter, we are also Aja, unborn. So he's created us, but we are timeless. We are the Atma. In this world, it's a little hard to understand this. So there has to be some faith that we accept that the Lord is unborn, beginningless. How he's the source of all qualities in us. How the sages came from his mind. Sorry, he's revealing this to Arjuna because of his personal relationship with his dear friend. The lesson from this: there are actually 5 relationships we can have with the Lord. They're called rasas. One is shantaras, neutral. So we can be in the spiritual world in a neutral capacity, like grass or trees. There's dasyaras, a servant of the Lord, like Hanuman. There's sakyaras, like Arjuna, friendship. There's vatsalyaras, in the form of parenthood, or like a nurse to Krishna. These are all relationships we can have according to our nature. And madhuryaras, conjugal, loving relationship. Now, our relationship with God is already established because we've come into the spiritual world halfway through that relationship, if you like. We already got the relationship with the Supreme Lord. When we go back to the spiritual world, we'll continue with that relationship. In the meantime, we've just decided, hey, I want to break. For some stupid reason, we decided we wanted to become God. And we became envious of God. So we're in this crazy world. But when we go back, we resume whatever relationship we have with God. This is just in pictorial form, those 5 relationships, which we just talked about. Okay. So the next one is only 4 verses. So yes, Mallavika, go for it.
Text 8. I am the source of all spiritual and material worlds. Everything emanates from me. The wise who perfectly know this engage in my devotional service and worship me with all their hearts. Text 9. The thoughts of my pure devotees dwell in me. Their lives are fully devoted to my service, and they derive great satisfaction and bliss from always enlightening one another and conversing about me. Text 10. To those who are constantly devoted to serving me with love, I give the understanding by which they can come to me. Text 11. To show them special mercy, I, dwelling in their hearts, destroy with the shining lamp of knowledge the darkness born of ignorance.
Thank you. These are so good, these verses, so good. The Acharyas say that these 4 verses are the seed verses of the Bhagavad Gita, the essence of the Bhagavad Gita. So these 4 verses contain the essence of it and describe spirituality in 3 essential stages. So there's 3 stages. One is the beginning, the sambandha. Sambandha means getting to understand our relationship with God and also with the world around us. The second is putting it into practice. The practice and application of that knowledge in one's daily life is known as abhidheya. These are the central terms. And the final one is the fruit of that practice. What do we get from this practice, which is pure spiritual consciousness and unbound love of God? It's called prayojana. Bhagavad Gita is actually a spiritual science. So this is not just some blind faith, but because God is the greatest scientist. So any connection with him is scientific. Some of it we may not be able to perceive. That's our fault, not his. And he will give us the instrument by which we can perceive him. Now, if you look at these verses, one of them is this one. To those who are constantly devoted to serving me with love, I give the understanding by which they can come to me. So even we may have something lacking within us. If we serve the Lord with love, he'll give us the understanding. Even we may not be able to, study it, but he'll allow us to understand. So the Bhagavad Gita is actually a spiritual science, since there is hypothesis, which is sambandha, getting to know the relationship, experiment, put it into practice, and look at the result, observation. Because that's what science does. It has a hypothesis, then there's an experimentation, then you look at the result. These 4 verses, 8 to 11, give a roadmap of spirituality from beginning to end. And the lesson is so easy, so good. It's exactly the words I spoke, because this is so fundamentally important. Simply, we have to devote ourselves to serving the Lord. And that service is very easy. He's happy in so simple ways. Like we read last week, how he says, if you just offer me with love a fruit, flower, leaf, and water, I will accept. Well, you couldn't get much easier connection to God or anyone. So if we do that, he will give the understanding by which we can come to him. So this is very powerful, very powerful. So who would like to read the next section? I know Ishwari Kishori are always ready. Maybe you can do the last, because the last one is a long one. So between two of you can do the last bit. Anybody else would like to read?
I don't mind.
Go for it. Go for it.
Arjuna said, "You are the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the ultimate abode, the purest, the absolute truth. You are the eternal, transcendental, original person, the unborn, the greatest. All the great sages such as Narada, Asita, Devala, and Vyasa confirm this truth about you, and now you yourself are declaring it to me. O Krishna, I totally accept as truth all that you have told me. Neither the demigods nor the demons, O Lord, can understand your personality. Indeed, you alone know yourself by your own eternal potency, O Supreme Person, origin of all, Lord of all beings, God of gods, Lord of the universe. Please tell me in detail of your divine opulences by which you pervade all these worlds. O Krishna, O Supreme Mystic, how shall I constantly think of you, and how shall I know you? In what various forms are you to be remembered, O Supreme Personality of Godhead? O Janardana, please describe in detail the mystic power of your opulences. I am never satiated in hearing about you, for the more I hear, the more I want to taste the nectar of your words.
Wonderful. Thank you. Yuvi, very nice. Very clear reading, actually. So Arjuna accepts Krishna as a Supreme Lord. And he's stating that, okay, some people might say, yeah, I accept you as God because you're my friend. But then Arjuna says, actually, all the great sages also accept you as a Supreme Lord. And then he wants to know more about God. So this is really good. Great attitude. I want to know more. I want to know more. Have to have that desire. I want to understand more, my dear Lord. Please, I'm quite dull-headed, especially in this Kali Yuga, but let me understand you more. We can also develop a desire to know more about the Lord. And he will fulfill our desire. This is the beauty of the Lord. If we want something, he'll give it to us. If we want to be away from him, he'll facilitate that as well. But of course, we want to become close to him. Knowing more about his opulence will convince us that he is the original Supreme Personality of God. But knowing and appreciating his sweet pastimes of exchange with his devotees will make us fall in love with him. This is the thing about the Lord. He's great, but so what? There's so many great personalities in this world, right? There's rich personalities, charismatic personalities, there's beautiful people, there's strong people, etc., etc. What's the big deal? But when you actually see the sweetness of the Lord, then you fall in love with it. Then you fall in love. That's the whole idea. The Lord, we know he's great, but that alone is not enough to fall in love with him. When we see his sweetness, how he deals with his devotees, how wonderful he is, then we fall in love with him. So this is why we want to get to know him more and more. See his sweetness, fall in love with him. Right. Now, there's a lot of verses now, right till the end. And Ishwari Kishori, I think between you can take these on. Krishna shows his different places in this world where we can perceive him. So over to you.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Text 19. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, "Yes, I will tell you of my splendorous manifestations, but only of those which are prominent, O Arjuna, for my opulence is limited." Limitless. Not limited.
So now from text 20 onwards, we've just put it in picture format as well. So you're welcome to read the writing bits.
Sure, Prabhuji. I am the Supersoul, seated in the hearts of all living entities. I am the beginning, the middle, and the end of all beings. Of the Adityas, I am Vishnu. Of lights, I am the radiant sun. Of the Maruts, I am Marichi, controlling deity of wind. Among the stars, I am the moon. Of the demigods, I am Indra, the king of heaven. Of the Vedas, I am the Samaveda. Of the senses, I am the mind. In the living beings, I am the living force, consciousness. Of all the Rudras, I am Lord Shiva. Of all the Yakshas and Rakshasas, I am the Lord of wealth, Kuvera. Of the Vasus, I am fire, Agni. Of the mountains, I am Meru. Of priests, O Arjuna, know me to be the chief, Brahaspati. Of generals, I am Kartikeya. Of bodies of water, I am the ocean. Of the great sages, I am Bhrigu. Of vibrations, I am the transcendental Om. Of sacrifices, I am the chanting of the holy names, Japa. Of immovable things, I am the Himalayas. Among perfected beings, I am the sage Kapila. Of the Gandharvas, I am Chitrata. Of the sages among the demigods, I am Narada. Of all the trees, I am the banyan tree. Of horses, know me to be the Uchaisrava, produced during the churning of the ocean for nectar. Of lordly elephants, I am Airavat. Among men, I am the monarch. Of weapons, I am the thunderbolt. Among cows, I am Surabhi. Of causes for procreation, I am Gandharpa, the god of love. Of serpents, I am Vasuki. Of departed ancestors, I am Ariyama. Among the dispensers of law, I am Yama, the lord of death. Among the aquatics, I am the demigod Varuna. Of the many-hooded Nagas, I am Ananta. Among the Daitya demons, I am the devoted Prahlad. Among subduers, I am Time. Among beasts, I am the lion. Among birds, I am Garuda. Of flowing rivers, I am the Ganges. Of fishes, I am the shark. Of the wielders of weapons, I am Ram. Of purifiers, I am the wind. Among logicians, I am the conclusive truth. Of all sciences, I am the spiritual science of the self. Of all creations, I am the beginning and the end, and also the middle, O Arjuna. I am also inexhaustible time. Of creators, I am Brahma. Among compound words, I am the dual compound, Rama Krishna. Of letters, I am the letter A. Among women, I am fame, fortune, fine speech, memory, intelligence, steadfastness, and patience. I am the generating principle of all that is yet to be. I am all-devouring death. Of the hymns in the Samaved, I am the Brihat Sama. Of poetry, I am the Gayatri. Of seasons, I am flower-bearing spring. Of months, I am Margastra.
Margashira.
November, December. I am also the gambling of cheats. Of the splendid, I am the splendor. I am victory. I am the strength, the strong. I am adventure. Of the Pandavas, I am Arjun. Of the sages, I am Vyasa. Among great thinkers, I am Usana, Shukracharya. Of the descendants of Rishni, I am Vasudeva. Of secret things, I am silence. Of the wise, I am the wisdom. Of those who seek victory, I am morality. Among all men, among all means of suppressing lawlessness, I am punishment. There is no being, moving or non-moving, that can exist without me. I am the generating seed of all existences. Text 40. O mighty conqueror of enemies, there is no end to my divine manifestations. What I have spoken to you is but a mere indication of my infinite opulences. Text 41. Knowing that all opulent, beautiful, and glorious creations spring from but a spark of my splendor. Text 42. But what need is there, Arjuna, for all this detailed knowledge? With a single fragment of myself, I pervade and support this entire universe. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. So that's the end of chapter 10, Vibhuti Vistara Yoga. Amazing chapter, absolutely glorious. Krishna is describing where he can be found in this world. And he describes the most prominent amongst his limitless, all-pervading opulences. By doing this, he explains how one can actually think about him, meditate on him, and see him everywhere. It is not that Krishna is physically all the things he mentions, but rather he is the source of the opulence of these things. He's the source of their strength, fame, wealth, and so on. And after naming 82 opulences, Krishna concludes by stating that these simply hint at his glory, since he pervades and supports the entire universe with a mere fragment of his energy. Extraordinary. So, lesson from this, we know Krishna is unlimited, and he gives a small hint of his opulences. One of his opulences, which he says, of Gaumatas, I am the Surabhi. So Gaumata is very special, very dear to Krishna. Now, we don't even think about Krishna, but Krishna can't even live without Gaumata. He thinks of her every day. He worships her every day. He serves her every day. He milks her every day. He feeds her every day. He's a cowherd boy eternally. And this is one of his glories. And this is the glory of Gaumata. So we also, if we want to become close to Krishna, we can also serve Gaumata. Now, simply even thinking of Gaumata is good enough. In this country, it's it's a little hard to see Gaumata or serve her physically. But in Bharat, it's amazing. You walk out of the door and there'll be many Gaumatas just hanging around. And there's so many Gaushalas, so many different ways that one can serve Gaumata there. I remember when we go there, whenever we go there, every day we will try to feed Gaumata somewhere, wherever they are. We just try to find some hay or food. And usually there's somebody who's selling it as well. And we buy it and feed them. Such a fantastic savor. But if we can't do that because we're in the UK, then we can do it mentally. Think of Gaumata every single day. At least spare some time in your day. And if you do it at the same time every day, you won't forget. Try to remember Gaumata. Very, very important to do. Okay, I wanted to stop there and take any questions if there are. I mean, Ishwari Kishori, I'm sure we'll have.
Okay, Prabhuji, we only have 2 questions.
Okay.
Because we were just listening this session.
Yes.
How many days does Brahma's year consist of?
Wow, it's a huge calculation. He lives for 100 years, and in terms of our years, the 100 years equate to 311 trillion, 40 billion years. That's how many years Brahma lives according to our time. So his one day, 12 hours, is something like what is it? I think it's 4 trillion years or something like that. It's a long time. It's a long time. It's a huge amount of time. And in his one day, 71 Mahayugas takes place. The Mahayugas are the Satya Yuga, Treta Yuga, Dwapara Yuga, Kali Yuga. 71 of those take place. And 14 Manus come as well. It's huge. His time span is absolutely humongous.
Why was Lord Brahma created by Lord Vishnu's navel?
Why did he sprout from the navel? Well, what happened was, from the navel came the lotus flower, and the stem of the lotus. On top of that stem is this lotus flower, and that's how he was born. Why that happened, I'm not sure. That's a good question. It said that the stomach of the Lord is the residence of all the universes. So I suspect that's part of the reason why from his navel sprouts this lotus flower, upon which, on top of which Lord Brahma is situated. So it's probably because his belly is regarded to be the residence of all the universes. So something to do with that. Exactly why I'm not too sure.
I see. And why does Dhritarashtra, like, why doesn't he answer to Sanjaya? Like in the last few verses of the Bhagavad Gita, Sanjaya is going, "Oh king, because of the gift which I got from Vyas, I'm like, my hairs are standing on end after hearing this divine conversation." But Dhritarashtra doesn't speak. Why doesn't he speak?
He may well do because this Bhagavad Gita is part of the Mahabharata. So there might well be. I've never read I've read the Mahabharata, but in terms of the verses themselves, it's 100,000 verses, a lot of verses. So I haven't read the Mahabharata, but I suspect that there is a response from the Dhritarashtra, and that response won't be one of happiness. And that's probably why Bhagavad Gita stops where it stops, because I suspect that Dhritarashtra's response must be something, head in his hand, sort of, oh my God, what's going to happen in this place? My son will get destroyed. So that's probably why the Bhagavad Gita stops where it does stop.
I see. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Anybody else? Any questions? Arav, Niklesh, Bharat, Kishore, Yumi, Malavika, Lokeshwar. Are you all happy? Okay. You're welcome to ask. And don't think any question is, not good question. They're all good questions. So it's always good to ask. It's good for you, it's good for me, it's good for the listeners as well. So don't be afraid to ask. Huh? Okay, let's go to the quiz. Very kindly, Ishwari and Kishori have prepared, so you can share the link. So next week, we will look at the universal form of the Lord. So that's the chapter, very interesting chapter. Okay, and okay, you got a question. Good. So what did Krishna mean by the fact that in alphabet he is the letter A? Because A is the beginning, so he's like the beginning. So that's what he means, that he's the beginning. So hope that's okay. But a short answer. All right, is everybody joining? Very good. So we have 3 at the moment. Lokeshwar, you're missing.
Oh no, I won't do the course today.
Sorry?
I won't do the course today.
Okay. Okay, in that case, I think we got everybody. You can start.
Okay. What is the name of this chapter?
So this is on chapter 9. Yeah?
Perfecting renunciation, knowledge of the absolute, the most confidential knowledge, the essence of my words.
Remember, we're doing quiz on chapter 9. Huh?
And the correct answer is the most confidential knowledge. True or false? Krishna says that the knowledge he is about to impart is suitable for mostly the people who are envious of him, as they will be able to understand better. The correct answer is false. In the 5 classes of people, the 5th class only sees bad in blank. This is the fill in the blank. The 5th class is the worst class, and the 1st class is the best class. The correct answer is everyone. What are some of the themes in this chapter? The inconceivable nature of the Lord, we will never be able to understand him. The Lord describes what happens to one who commits sin and repents and engages in bhakti. All of the above. Krishna explains that break dancing is the best form of bhakti. And this is a multi-select. And the correct answer is the first and the second option. True or false? Even if Krishna explains the opulences and qualities of his personal form, there are still many who misunderstand him. And the correct answer is true. How many types of people did Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur describe? 8, 5, 4, 3, or 7? And the correct answer is 5. True or false? If you surrender yourself to the demigods, you go to Krishna. The correct answer is false. Krishna is about to reveal the most confidential knowledge about blank to his faithful devotee. This is the fill in the blank. And the correct answer is himself. True or false? We shouldn't establish deep faith within our hearts towards the Lord. And the correct answer is false. In third place, we have Varad, second place, Nikhilesh, and first, Arav Sharma.
Well done, Arav. Again, number one, you're consistently doing very well. Well done. And everybody else, thank you very much for joining, and we'll see everybody next week. Thank you, Ishwari Kishori. Wonderful quiz, as always.
Was the question about the classes okay?
Yeah, it was good. Very good. Very good. Well done. Thank you. Well done. Thank you, Kishore, and thank you, Nikhilesh, and Arav, Malvika, Varad, Smita. Very good. See you next.
See you next week, Prabhuji.
Take care.
Thank you.